It's 1995. Summer has gone, university already a distant memory. I sit there with my oh-so-useful degree in English literature. From the best university in the world, of course, but still, it's English literature. And I wonder what, precisely, I'm going to do with it. Family and friends are advising me to do something sensible. Law, perhaps. Finance. Accountancy. I nod at them and smile and shiver inside. None of them know that the only thing I really want to do, the only thing I've ever really wanted to do, is write. And to get some idea of how that works, I'm applying for work experience at a publishing house. There's no need to tell you which one. It's a major one, a biggie, you've heard of it. It sits in an absurdly artsy building on the western fringes of central London, and it publishes serious, award-winning writers, the commercially successful ones, the ones who get films made out of their books and translated into every language you've heard of, plus a few you probably haven't. All the women are called Persephone or Ophelia, petite, with small permanent smiles and perfect hair. The men are all Julian or Tristram, and their hair's even better. They haven't had an intern there for some time. They don't know quite what to do with me. Eventually someone has a wonderful idea. "Look at all these!" she exclaims, pushing a trolley laden with thousands of sheets of paper through the office. I forget her name. Let's call her Hecuba. "You studied English, didn't you? You. Hecuba has forgotten my name. There are only a dozen people working there, and she's forgotten my name already. I nod. "Excellent. You can read these." These, it emerges, are the unsolicited manuscripts this great publishing house has received from aspiring authors over the last 8 years. 8 years. This is 1995. Email and the internet existed, certainly, but hardly anyone had them. For 8 years, writers have been slaving away on their old-fashioned word processors, and in some cases typewriters, printing their works, forking out the exorbitant cost to post them to this central London address. And in all that time, not a single word of a single manuscript has been read. "Just flick through the first couple of pages of each one," advises Hecuba. "If you happen to find one that isn't rubbish, let me know." But you won't. What do I know about modern commercial literature? I can deconstruct a Shakespearean romance in the blink of an eye, expound on the reasons behind Milton's reluctant acceptance of the epic form, make some kind of sense of Finnegan's Wake. I am, in short, a recently pretentious, more than averagely intelligent English literature graduate. But what makes a modern novel sell? Call me Dumbo. As it turns out, for the most part, Hecuba isn't far wrong. The majority of the manuscripts are awful, but surely even they deserve better attention than mine, and certainly in a far shorter time frame. Some I judge to be rather reasonable. Some are better than reasonable. Some writers, knowing no better, and in the absence of all-knowing Wikipedia, how could they, have submitted poetry, long epic poems, short lyric poems, great collections of verse of varying quality, admittedly, but the product of months and years of intellect and emotion and sweat. "We don't do poems here," Hecuba tells me. "Write back and tell them to submit to our sister imprint, T-Books." And so letter after letter is drafted, my signature at the bottom, as if I were some all-wise arbiter of literary success. I regret to inform you that, unfortunately, the criteria for publication are such that, whilst I found the subject matter intriguing, the current market for... I've been ploughing through this monolith of literary aspiration in chronological order, so it shouldn't really surprise me that I come across resubmissions, or letters from authors wondering whether their prior submissions had even been read. A certain poet, Mr. D, shall we call him, not a great writer by any means, poetry I can judge, but not a bad one, has written again, a year after his initial submission, seeking some form of feedback, good or bad. He writes by hand. And then again, a year later, wondering if we could see fit to return his verse, because he has no other copy. It was typewritten, you see. The manuscript in my hand is the only one, his monument more lasting than bronze. The writing is shakier, I note, than it had been just a year earlier. And this, the final blow, a letter from the same address, but in a different hand. In the widow's hand. Her husband passed on some months ago, she writes, and she has been unable to locate any of the verse he composed, and would read to her in the evenings, by the fire, in happier times. More than anything, she would love to find it. Have we any ideas? Oh no, says Hecuba. We can't afford to go sending great piles of manuscripts back to people. If they were stupid enough not to keep copies, more fool them. I pay the postage myself and walk out of the building, never to return. I become a lawyer, and then, for a while, I work in finance. Not until 17 years have gone by, and the self-publishing revolution has arrived, do I decide that I might, perhaps, try writing something after all. Thank you.